get clarity. Now, this is a very counterintuitive guidance. MBA in our heads is all about running all around, like do one thing, run to the other thing, then do your assignment, then run back, then prepare for placements, find a life project, do everything all at once. MBA in our head is all about running around. But please, um, please let me say this: take some time to introspect. You will not have the luxury of time that you have today 2 years later, or 1.5 years later. The amount of resources, the luxury of resources you have around you, in terms of sheer knowledge, the books you read, the curriculum that you have, your teachers, your peers, whatever is available online, whatever is available through life projects, everything, like the luxury of resources and the luxury of time that you have. I know it sounds really sarcastic when I say luxury of time, but I'll tell you why that's still a luxury. So luxury of time that you have right now can only be used well if you are absolutely clear into what is it that you really want to do. So don't just spend your time in reacting to what is going around you and running after everything. First of all, introspect. Basis the information that you have, basis all the knowledge that you are getting, please try and introspect what is it that you really want to do. What is it that speaks to you? What kind of career will be the most fulfilling for you? At least for the next few years. We live in a very fast changing world, so that will also change. Like whatever is speaking to you right now will not speak to you maybe 4 years later. But at least in the short term, in the immediate term, what is the kind of career that you want to have? Take some time, introspect, use all the knowledge that you are getting to decide upon it. This, once you are clear, then you will realize that actually the time that you have is more than enough. Because once you have decided what your goal is, you will choose everything according to it, and it will become very manageable. You will choose your electives according to it. You will choose your life projects according to it. You will choose your placement preparation according to it. You will choose your network according to it. So once you are set in your goal, then everything else will become really manageable. So use your time well in deciding what is it that you want to do. Now, second step from there is actually to seek guidance. Now, here I really want to commend what Jahangir is trying to do, or all the edtech startups are trying to do. There is a lot of learning in life that only comes with experience, and a lot of edtech startups around the world are trying to democratize this knowledge. So, democratize is a term that Satya Nadella uses very frequently, the CEO of Microsoft. So, one of the goals of technology is to democratize knowledge. So, whatever we have learned the hard way, the people around the world are trying to spread that knowledge to people who are early in their career, who are still on that journey through the use of technology. So technology is not the only way to seek guidance. You are, as I said, you are in the luxury of resources right now. You have your professors, you have people you can network with that can guide you as to what will be the right career for you. They will not take the decision for you, but they can make the decision easier for you. Like, for example, when I was in IIM Indore, I did not even know that there is something called product management. The only thing that I was sure of is that I love technology. I'm passionate about technology and I want to build my career in technology. But what is it that I want to do? What kind of roles are there? And there are many, many kinds of roles in technology. What are the different kind of roles? What will speak to me? What does the day-to-day life of a product manager look like? What does the day-to-day life of a business analyst look like? I did not know. And I was not using my time well. I was not even seeking guidance. So as I told you, I was one of those people who was always angry. So I was not using my time well. So I've learned this lesson the hard way. Use your time well to seek guidance in whatever way you can find. If you are at the stage where you are exploring, shorten that exploration time by taking guidance. Exploration is good. Try doing different things and see what works for you. But that time to explore can be shortened if you seek guidance. The next is be disciplined and use your time well. I think I have stressed on this enough. The last one is important. Focus on skill building. Now, any one of you who is a fitness enthusiast. So the last one is focus on skill building. Now, the reason why I have written over there is that, like, imagine those of you who are into fitness or are fitness enthusiasts or sports enthusiasts, you don't walk into the gym on day one and pick up 100 kg weight, right? You cannot do that. If you've never walked into a gym before, you don't really expect it to walk into a gym and pick do a weightlifting of 100 kg. Even if you're absolutely clear that you want to become a weightlifter, if you're absolutely clear that you want to win an Olympic gold in weightlifting, you're absolutely clear about your goal. But even then, you cannot just walk into a gym and pick up 100 kg just because you are very strong in your convictions. It will take time to build that muscle. It will take time to build that skill. The same is with anything in life. Any goal that you have related to your career, it's going to require soft and hard skills. In my experience, hard skills are uh, are a little bit easier to acquire than soft skills. Hard skills are, especially in the day and age that we live, where everything is available online, there's a lot of information available, courses available. The hard skills will be easier to acquire. The soft skills will take a lot of practice. And again, I'm saying that you still have the luxury of time. You're in your first year, you have 1.5 years. Even the soft skills that you are like completely lacking in, you can build them. You can recognize them, build them, and you have enough time to practice them before you actually sit for your final placements. And skills will not be built over time. This is something you cannot delay. You cannot say that 1 week before the placement, I'm going to study a skill and be good at it. That's not going to happen. So please use your time well and build your skills. Focus on the skills. Your degree will work for you only when you use these 2 years. Your degree will not is only a piece of paper if you do not use your 2 years that you are here. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so before I move to the next one, any questions so far on the general guidance that we talked about?
Yes, ma'am. I have 2 doubts.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, ma'am, so first of all, you talked about seeking guidance. So when we are in MBA, there are a lot of people we interact with, a professor first of all, and then a lot of guest lectures who come to our campus. So how do we actually seek guidance from someone? Like practically, like is it like, do I approach via LinkedIn, or like how we should go about it, like seeking guidance?
Okay.
And
good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. No, you have more question to ask?
Yes, ma'am. I have one more question. Yes, ma'am. And also about building the skills part. So as you have stressed, it's a very important part. But like also, how do we identify what kind of skills we require in the long term? Because it's also related to identifying a passion or your end-term goal. So first of all, how can we identify that skill? Because there's a lot we are doing, right? So yes, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Rajat, for that question. So in terms of seek guidance, as I said, there is like if there is one thing which is an abundance during your MBA, and I think Jahangir also said that is knowledge. You are being bombarded by knowledge from all sides. So in terms of guidance, first of all, you will have to, like, that's why I've written get clarity before seeking guidance. So a little bit of first, you will have to assimilate the information that is coming your way. What do you know so far about marketing? What do you know about finance? What do you know about operations? What do you know about product management? Or how much ever you know, like how much little you know, how much more you know. Look at that information. Is anything standing out to you? If yes, then please go and network with people in that domain and ask them about their day-to-day job. By seeking guidance, I mean, like, we during MBA we have a broad level of knowledge about what each of these roles are, but at least I did not know what did the day-to-day job of a product manager look like. I did not know what does the day-to-day job of a supply chain manager looks like. So in order to know that, you can use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is definitely a very good platform to network with people, to understand their career journeys and to understand their day-to-day jobs. You can just look at the descriptions that they're writing about their jobs, or you can actually talk to them, message them. The speakers, when they come to your college, you can ask them that question. Like today, I'm talking about general guidance, but maybe we'll do a session on product management where I can talk about what does the day-to-day of a product manager looks like. So if such speakers come to your college and talk about their jobs, ask them specifics of their job. That will help you understand. Apart from that, your professors are usually the people who have worked in the industry a little bit. So if they have worked in a particular domain, you can seek guidance from them. What is the kind of job that they had? What was the career? What is the growth opportunity there? Like not just the immediate joining designation. What is the long-term opportunity in that particular career? So those are the questions that you need to seek answers to. That is called seeking guidance. Like first of all, you need to decide what questions you need answers to. When I say get clarity, it's not just in terms of role and job you want to do. Think in terms of what will your job really look like holistically. Like what kind of people would you want to work with? Where, like what designation would you want 5 years later? What is it that you will want to contribute? Like would you, like for me, it was like I want to create a technology product. So product management was an obvious choice. So similarly, if you want to create a new brand, maybe marketing is your choice. If you are interested in financial instruments, and if you are interested in helping the world with personal finance, then maybe finance is your calling. So that way, it's important. By seeking guidance, you are basically going up to people using LinkedIn, using your professors, using your speakers, and asking them pointed questions about what is it that you are looking for. Does that answer your question, Rajat?
Yes, ma'am.
Then the second one was on skill. So you were saying, how do we identify? Now, how do we identify? I actually was going to talk about it a little bit later when I was going to talk about resumes. But since you have asked, you can do this by, I follow a very simple practical technique for doing this. You can go on LinkedIn, on Naukri.com, on Monster or Indeed or whatever job portals are there, and go through the job descriptions of whatever is it that you're looking for. Like, for example, if you're looking for an operations job, go to multiple job descriptions of an operations manager or supply chain manager job and read the job descriptions and then assimilate what is the common set of skills being asked in all of those jobs. There will be a common set of skills because ultimately it's the same job. It's a different company, a different setup, but there will be a common set of skills that that job is looking for. Like for product management, I know product management is a very varied job. There is health tech, ed tech, there's a lot of domain knowledge that is required, fintech, there's core technology products, there are different kinds of products. But if I go and read the job descriptions of all different companies of different sizes, startups, big companies, I will still come across very common set of skills that is required of a product manager. So when you have distilled that down, then you will be able to go after those skills or build those skills. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question before we move forward? Okay. So let's quickly go to the selection process. So I had the brief given to me for this session was summer placements, but I'll try to make it more generic. So the first point that I have written over there that resume and background will play an important role. And there's a sad smiley over there, and I'll tell you why I put it over there. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that this is not going to be a fair world. This is not going to be a fair system. The system is not fair inherently. We all want to believe that we live in a meritocratic world where if we do our part fairly, we will get whatever we want. We want to believe that the world is increasingly designed for that, but it is still not perfect. So the person who is going to be reading your resume, the person who is going to be interviewing you, at the end of the day is a human being, and human beings have conscious and unconscious biases. Yeah, so instead of fighting those biases, I am highlighting this fact here because I want you to not be disheartened. If you are currently not getting what is it that you exactly want, use that as a learning opportunity to circumvent that. How can you build your skills towards what you really want? But please understand that if you're not getting something, it might not be just because you're lacking in skills. It might be because the system is a little bit unfair. It's just designed that way. We are all human beings. We all have biases. No matter how many checks and balances are put in place, ultimately it is some person who's going to be interviewing you, and the person might have a bias. So if I have to talk about my own journey, during my summer placement at IIM Indore, I had zero shortlist for a technology company. Although I was fully clear even before I joined MBA that I want to make a career in technology, I was trying for it. I was not using my time very well because I was running towards all the 10,000 directions, which I shouldn't have done. I know that now, and that's what I'm telling you guys. But at the same time, even after being that clear and being exclusively applying to tech companies and related companies, telecom and tech, I did not have a single shortlist from a tech company. The reason was that I was coming from an IOCL background. It's a PSU. There is a little bit of bias against people who have worked in the public sector. Plus, my experience was nowhere near technology. Although I was an engineering officer at IOCL, the work I was doing was very much operations and supply chain focused. So I ended up getting an internship in the supply chain domain of Vodafone. So the thing is that your resume and background will play an important role, but don't be disheartened. Learn from that experience so that you are better prepared when you sit for your finals. Try to balance your background in the next 1.5 years. Like if you are from, like in my case, I was from a public sector background and I wanted a role in tech. So I spent the next 1.5 years after my summer placement was done in trying to take more electives in the tech space, in trying to do case studies in the tech space and a lot of other things, build skills in the tech space so that when I sit for my final interviews, I would have a little better chance than what I had during my summer placements. So continuous learning is the key here. Don't be disheartened. The next thing which I want to highlight here is the communication part. Now, or those of you who are coming from BTech backgrounds, or even if you're coming from any kind of bachelor, all of you have bachelor degrees, I'm assuming here. So bachelor's degree is very specific to one particular field. And when you are applying for jobs after a bachelor degree, it is very much hard skill based. It's very much technical skill based. But when you are applying for a role after your MBA or during your final placements of MBA or during any kind of placements in MBA, a lot is dependent on your communication skills. Because please understand, all of you are future leaders. Whoever is trying to hire you is looking for leadership for her company. So she will want somebody who is good at communicating, because that's very important leadership skill. And as I said, like even later in life, when you are switching companies, there will be no written exam process. The spotlight will not be on hard skills. The spotlight will be on a sort of softish skills, communication being the most important of them all. Now, there are certain misconceptions that people have with regards to communication. Number one misconception is that, now this can be a session in itself, but I'm going to quickly try and summarize this in a few points. So the number one misconception that people have with communication is that communication is all about a certain level of fluency in English. That is not true at all. Now, all of you have qualified CAT, so that basic level of efficiency with the language is already there. So that's not what communication is about. Communication in very simple terms is that you are able to convey your point of view. You are able to get things done. When you join as a manager, you will be talking to so many different stakeholders. And it's not about how good your English language is. It's about how well you can communicate your point of view, how well you can understand someone else's point of view. So communication is not about just the language. That's the first misconception that you need to get rid of. Now I'll talk about 3 things that you can do to actually work on communication skills in the time that you have. Now, irrespective of role or domain that you join, communication skills are going to be extremely important. So number one part of communication is content. What is it that you are saying? The content of what you are saying is the most important part of communication. To be able to have a nuanced approach, nuanced opinion about something, you need to read a lot of different things. You need to read the newspaper, read a lot of books, listen to good podcasts. Please don't take your news from social media and form opinions basis it. That's not the kind of intellectual thinking that is expected of MBA grads. Please use your own brain. Please use good sources of information. Since you are at an IIM, you will have access to a lot of digital libraries, I'm assuming. We had it at IIM Indore. I'm not sure about IIM Kashipur, but you can get that access. You can request your college and get that access. Use good sources. Look at problems from all different perspectives and form opinions. Get into this habit of forming opinions basis good information. So that's number one. Content of what you are saying is the most important. Number 2 is the non-verbal part of communication. This is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but it is extremely important. When you are sitting for an interview, the tone of voice, your modulation, your body posture, your body language, all of that matters a lot. And this is, again, something, as I said, skill cannot be built in a day. So this is not something that you will one day decide and next day you will go and sit for an interview and you will get it right. Because when you're sitting in an intense situation like an interview, it's very easy to fall into a body language or fall into a posture which is not correct. You will not even be conscious and you will fall into that posture because you are in the habit of falling into that posture. That's why you have to use your time to build the habit of good non-verbal communication. Work on your gestures, work on your posture, work on your body language. And the last but not the least, please use positive language. Please do not use slangs. Please do not use the internet language. That is not the level of intellectual capacity, critical thinking that is expected of MBA grads. Please do not use the language that everyone thinks is cool. That is not expected of managers. That is not expected of leaders. You guys are future leaders. Please start from there. If you are a leader, what is the kind of language that you will use? You have to use a language that is positive. Even if you are conveying something counter to what someone else is saying, if your view is unpopular, or even if your view is different from that of the other person, use a very respectful and a very positive language. You make yourself someone who someone will want to hire. If you exude positivity, if you exude eagerness to learn, if you exude curiosity about what someone else is thinking, all those qualities form the basis of good communication. So learn to use positive language. How you can do that? Use it in everything that you do. Use it in talking to your friends, use it in writing your assignments, use it in talking to your teachers. Practice it. The key is practice. As I said, these are not things that you decide one day and you are able to do it the other day. That's not going to happen. It will take time. ingrain it in yourself, ingrain and make it a part of your habit that you always use positive language. Okay. The next one that I really quickly want to touch upon is the approach. As I said, calm, confident, eagerness to learn, curiosity. I think I've touched on all of those. One thing which I want to really pick out of this is confidence. It's very important to be confident, but as I said, people who are interviewing you are humans and they have biases. And one bias that I have found very commonly exists in the industry is that MBA grads are very arrogant. IIM grads are very arrogant. This is a very common, I would say, stereotype that exists in the industry. So in order to circumvent that, be confident, but don't cross over to the arrogant side. Difference. So when I say that I can do something or I can get something done, that is confidence. If I say only I can get it done and no one else, that is arrogance. So see the difference. Don't cross over to the arrogant side. If you are asked a question, bank upon your skills. I can do this because I had a similar experience in my previous job and I was able to solve it this way. I can do this because I learned this skill in an online course and I have experience. I can do this because I learned this skill from my from the club that I was a part of. Bank on your skills, it will make you look confident. If you bank on your achievement, it is going to make you look arrogant. I can do this because I'm an MBA grad. That is arrogance. That is, I know you're not trying to be arrogant, but if you say this, you're going to come across as arrogant. So don't make that mistake. There's a very thin line. Keep on the confident side. Don't go over to the arrogant side. As I said, people have biases. You cannot fight the bias. Your job is, what is your goal? Your goal is to get the job. So circumvent that bias by using positive language and showing confidence. Now, the last one is very close to my heart. Do not pretend it will not help you. So I always say this in all my webinars that you can do your best in roles, in jobs, which are best aligned to your personality traits, which are best aligned to what you want to do in life, with your goals, your general purpose in life. And if you do not do that, like if you pretend to get a job, there will be 3 problems, according to me. So the first problem is the smallest problem, that the person who is interviewing you is very experienced. Like in all probability, he or she is very experienced at her job. So she will be able to get it very quickly that you are pretending and you will not get the job. So that is a smaller problem in my opinion. Even if you are very good at pretending and you are able to get the job, that's where the problem number 2 and problem number 3 will happen. And those are bigger problems. Now, problem number 2 is that it is going to make you miserable. Believe me, if you pretend and get a job, get a role that you don't really like doing, after a certain amount of time, you will feel miserable in that job. You will not have the motivation to get up every day and do that job. Whatever is it that attracted you to that job in the first place, whether it was prestige of a brand name or money or location or whatever, is going to have a, like all of you are MBA students, so you know the law of diminishing returns. Beyond a point, it will lose its utility because this is not really what is calling out to you. So it will lose its utility, you will feel really miserable. And that's actually really bad. So that actually is a bigger problem according to me. And the biggest problem according to me is problem number 3, is the waste of time and effort. Now, there are 2 scenarios. You either take up a job that you really like, you spend 2 years there, you put in all the effort, the experience comes in handy, and in 2 years you get promoted to the next level. Or the scenario where you pretended to get a job, you got the job, now you are miserable, and now you have decided to move to a different domain. Now, the 2 years that you spent in MBA plus the 2 years you spent on the job was a colossal waste of time and effort. Only 10% of that experience will be useful to you because you are now completely changing to a different job or a different role. So you will not be able to use all of that experience. Some of it will be relevant, I agree, but you will not be able to use all of it. And plus you have wasted important time. Instead of being at the next rung in your career, you are going to be starting from a little bit, like you will be behind in your career. You will be starting from one level below because you are completely changing your path now. So that's why I'm going to again repeat, you have the luxury of time during your MBA to figure this out. What is it that speaks to you? What gels well with you? What is it that you really like doing? What is it that you will like doing for the next few years at least? Figure it out, focus on that, see guidance, focus on it. Do not waste your time in pretending to just get one particular job. Okay. Next is resume. Before we go there, questions.
Ma'am.
Yeah, sorry.
if you know something you have to do, but you are not feeling like you are good at it, like you are not doing so well in that part. So what should I do at that time?
You should practice, Sarvi. It's actually very like, first of all, congratulations on knowing what is it that you want to do. I think a lot of time is spent in figuring that out. If you've figured it out already, then kudos to you. If you're not good at it, that's a smaller problem actually. If you're not good at it, you can get better at it. There, as I said, every skill can be learned. Even the soft skills can be learned. Even the hard skills are actually the easier ones to learn. Soft skills can also be learned. Just figure out what skills you require for that. What is it that you want to do? Whatever skills are required for that, go out, research those skills and acquire those skills. And you have the gift of technology at your fingertips. There are so many things, so many courses, not just courses. I think so many networking opportunities also available online that you can gain those skills, you can work on them. And as I said, you have time. You don't like, even if your summer placements are done, it's not the end of the road for you. Like as I said, I gave my example as well. My summer placement was not what I wanted, and I sat for the final placements again. So it's not end of the road. You still have time. If you have figured out what you want to do, go after the skills that are required for that role. You might not be good at it right now, but you will get better at it. Everything can be learned and practiced. I will want you to try it and like at least give it some time and some practice before you completely give up on it. That will be my advice.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, when it comes to resume writing, I would say please don't use vague statements. Use metrics, numbers, and skills. For example, if I say that I handled an XYZ project of 7 people, that has no meaning. Like I don't care what your project was. Writing the name of the project is not helping the interviewer. So what I can say that I led a team of 7 people to work on a project that led to 10% cost reduction for the company. Or I worked on a feature for the product which led to a 10x increase in the number of users, right? So if you write like that, that is when it makes sense to the person who is reading your resume. That's when the person can understand what is it that you really do. What is it that you really did. Like if I say that I launched a feature, that's not of much use to someone else. Like it's useful for my product. I know what was the use of that feature, but anyone else reading that resume will not be able to understand what's going on. So write it in a way that it conveys the impact. What was it that you did and what was the impact of it? Did it increase revenue? Did it reduce cost? Did it bring in new users? Whatever is it that you did. If you have been an engineer, you can talk about the impact of the work that you did. Like did it improve the performance of the product that you were working on, or did it improve the scalability of the product that you were working on? So depending on what your experience is, try to use metrics and numbers. I know everything cannot be quantified, like numbers cannot be associated with everything, but metrics can still be associated. Like whatever work you do has some kind of a goal. So use that goal to write your resume lines. That will make your resume more, sorry, you will make your resume points more goal oriented and more metric oriented. If numbers are not there, that's fine. It can still be metric oriented. And highlight skills. Like the step that we took, that where we looked at all the different job descriptions and found out what are the skills required. Like for example, since I'm from product management, I can talk a little bit about that. So if I say that I found out that technical skills are required for product management, so how I will write my resume is that I will look at those technical skills what are required for this role, and if I have done some work related to it, I'll try and highlight those the most. Like if I'm applying to a database product and I have worked on database in the past, then I'm going to highlight those skills that I worked on a SQL based product, or I worked on this feature for this database, because the product that I'm applying for is in database, plus I have an experience in database, so I can highlight that. If it is something like, for example, I'm applying to a database product, but I have no experience in database, like I've never worked on it, but I have like skills adjacent to database. I understand that the product requires technical skills. I have technical skills, not exactly in database, but I have technical skills. Maybe let's say that I have launched features for the UI design of the product. UI is user interface. So I can write those. At least that will show the interviewer that I have some technical skills. I understand technology. So that is what can be done. Highlight your skills. Highlight the skills that are required for the role. Use metrics, use numbers. And this is something that I have been highlighting again and again. Exercise. use this exercise to do better in the finals. Whatever you learn about resume building in your summer placements, even if it doesn't get you the job or the summer placement that you want, use that learning, take that learning, build upon that learning so that you're better prepared in the finals. So practice everything. Even in the last slide, I had a mock interview point where what I really wanted to highlight over there is that use this time to practice. You can form a cohort among yourselves. You can like ask each other interview questions and note each other's reaction and give each other feedback. So like this is something that can be done at your level. Time and practice. Keep practicing, keep getting better so that you are absolutely best, well prepared when you are sitting for your final placements. Okay, so that was all from my side. Now we can open it up for all kinds of questions. Now there is only one ground rule that I want to highlight for questions. So world politics, technology, business, all of those are very interesting topics. And as I said, I'm not here to recruit, so you don't have to ask me those questions today. Today is not the day for those. Today it's all about helping you guys. So ask me your problems related to like you saw my career journey. So problems that I can help you with, ask me those questions so that I can help you. As I said, I'm really sorry for taking this time slot on a Saturday, and I want this to be useful for you guys. So please go ahead and ask me questions that I can help you with, problems that you're currently facing. Somebody has raised his hand. Yeah.
Oh.
No, please go ahead. Who was talking?
Yes, Santosh, please go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. So as you were speaking about your journey, so what is the common set of skills that is required to be a good product manager irrespective of the domain? That's my first question. And the second question is any courses that you would suggest?
Okay, sure. So in terms of courses, I have actually designed a course myself because, as I said, I went through a journey of discovering product management and what is required to break into product management. So I have designed a course which is on Grow Junction, which is Jahangir's platform. So if you want to do that course, you can go ahead and do that. It's designed by me, but I'm not claiming that I'm the best product manager in the world. There are a lot of courses out there you can research if you want. Like if there's something else that you find more useful, you can go for that as well. So whatever you wish in terms of that's the course answer question. In terms of skills, there are like skills required for the product management can be a half an hour topic in itself. Like I can talk about it in great detail, but let me try to summarize it. There are 4 areas of skill that is required for product management in general. Product management itself is a very varied role. It varies across companies and it varies across teams within the same company as well. So that's why the set of skills required is really like it's a little bit varied, but if I have to like summarize everything, there are 4 key areas. One is technology, because if you're applying for a technology company, you need to understand what technology is, how it works. Second is product. Third is business. And fourth is industry. I'll quickly summarize what it means. So technology skills are basically related. Like if you are going to be a product manager for a technology product, then you need to understand how technology works. There are like subcategories of skills there, which as I said is going to take time, but basically you need to understand how technology works. Second is product. So product skills are the core of a product management of a product management role. Product skills are all about thinking about the product holistically. What will be the long-term vision of the product? What will be the roadmap of the product? And then like how you're going to take this product forward. What problem is it solving? Things like that. So looking at the product itself is the product skill. Business skill is all about whatever you are learning in your MBA. If you have built a product for a for-profit company, it has to be taken to market for profit. So you have to calculate return on investment. If you are investing into a feature, then how much return on investment that will give, whether you should invest or not. Market research, competition research, looking at where the market is going, where your product will fit into the market. That is all business skill. That is what you're learning in your MBA. So you'll be good on that. Last one is industry skill. Now, as I said, whatever industry skill is something that can be used to get into a product management role, and industry skill is something that impacts your decision as a product manager. So which industry is your product in? For example, if it's a fintech product, it's in the finance industry. So you should understand how the finance industry works to be able to take decisions for your product. You will take decisions basis what you understand. You will have to look at what is the growth driver for the industry, what is the cost driver for the industry, things like that. So that's the fourth category of skills, and under that also there are subcategories of skills that are required, but broadly these are the 4 areas of skills required to be a product manager: technology, product, business, and industry. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You can start your research in these broad headings, and then you can. Sorry.
Ma'am, any tools
Guys,
that
it would be
needs to
better if you
learned
could
for
raise
product
your
management?
hand.
Okay.
Prashant, from now
not-
on, what we can do is please raise your hand and I will call one by one to solve it.
Okay.
Ma'am, please.
Yeah. So I did not hear your question. Were you asking something else, Prashant?
Yeah, ma'am. I was asking
Also-
about any certifications or tools that need to be learned for product management.
See, I'm not a fan of certifications. I know a lot of people use it to get into product management, but I'm not a fan of certifications, especially as an MBA grad, especially in your first year. You have a lot of time in your hands to use whatever you already have to break into a product management role or break into any role for that matter. So I wouldn't recommend certifications. They are usually very costly, and I personally don't like that approach. I think skills can be built without certification as well. There's enough material available to build those skills. And so thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the time that you've given me today, and I hope it was useful. So, and if you're interested, then please go for the Grow Junction course.